the ability to think big. My big idea is improving women's health. And the way that I'm looking to do it is through FemHealth Ventures.
And we're here to make a difference and innovate women's health across the board.
I knew I was a troublemaker after I welcomed my first child, my daughter. And I'll share with you exactly what happened and what inspired me to today create FemHealth Ventures. So my daughter, I delivered at Columbia in the city, and she was born and healthy. She was delivered through an emergency C-section. Her heart rate had gone down, so the OB decided that she needed to take her out immediately, and she was delivered. And fortunately, she was just fine. Unfortunately, I didn't feel so well afterwards. So it was a Sunday night, a few days before Christmas. I had the C-section in the evening around 6:30. She was fine, and I didn't feel so well afterwards, and it was a rough night. The next morning, my OB walked in and took one look at me and realized that I had been bleeding internally the entire night and that they had missed it. So she rushed me into the OR. She brought in 3 additional surgeons, and they spent 2 hours looking for the source of the bleed. Unfortunately, they could not find the source of the bleed, so they closed me up and took me to the ICU, and I had a number of transfusions, 8 transfusions with blood, 2 transfusions with platelets. And it came to the point where the OB said to my husband that she didn't think I would make it to the next morning, and she had them rush my newborn into the ICU at 1 a.m. Because she wanted me to at least have a few moments with her and have a picture with her because she didn't think I'd be around much longer. I only remember bits and pieces of those moments since I was pretty out of it, having lost so much blood, but I do remember briefly holding my newborn. The nurse had to kind of support my arm because I wasn't able to hold her independently. My husband took some pictures and then they took her away. Fortunately, in the subsequent hours, my body started catching up with the bleed and my platelet levels came up. And after a few weeks in the hospital, I was able to come home. This experience was very traumatic and significant for me. Here I was at one of the top academic institutions in the country at Columbia, arguably one of the best institutions in the world with a highly experienced care team. Yet there was so much more that could have been done. And it brought to light the need and the opportunity around women's health. Having been a healthcare investor up until that point, I felt that the best way for me to make an impact was to create a vehicle focused specifically on this space, and hence FemHealth Ventures. And I believe that after that experience, I was very fortunate to survive and have a healthy daughter. And I felt that given my training, my 22 years as an investor, both in the private and public markets, I needed to create something to go after this, which is FemHealth Ventures, and which is when I knew I was a troublemaker and I was going to do something about this challenge.
I knew I was a troublemaker when I realized that women were very underrepresented, both in the fields of healthcare and finance. I was, born in the South with not much around me. And I realized that there's so much more within the fields of finance and healthcare that we could do so much more with and make an impact in. And so this mission with FemHealth Ventures and Maneesha and the team is really to help focus more energy, education, and alertness in regards to how we can impact women. And it happens to turn out women are half the population and involved in many more decisions in both the household as well as in society, generally speaking. So when we think of that, it's really, we need to be able to support each other and empower each other to be able to innovate and continue to dedicate resources like we are at FemHealth Ventures in regards to early stage companies that really can innovate and change the landscape of women's health.